Well, we need to compete. We need to play football. So I want to see a productive offense, a productive defense, and like I always say, during practice or in games, you got to earn your way, and that needs to happen. It can't be a big play because of a mistake. Administrative penalties are at a premium right now for us. We've got to be able to execute and look like a big-time Division I football team. And staying healthy is a big part of that, but we're all going to play, and I'm looking for a team when we all can walk off the field and say they're moving in the right direction. Ready to play LSU tomorrow? No, but we've definitely made strides from day 1 to day 15, and they should be substantial from the way we look on the field on Saturday.
When you do the scrimmage stuff in the second half, will we see a lot of ones?
Yeah, we'll see. Here's what you got. So the second half, and I may have said that wrong initially, the second half is going to be 2 quarters of a football game, other than the special teams. If you punt, it's going to go 35 yards from wherever you're at. So if you decide to punt from the 30-yard line going in, it's a touchback, and so on. But we'll kick field goals. The field goals will be live, and we're going to play football, put it down, and away we go. The first half will be controlled, heavy thud scenarios, move the ball down the field as the officials kind of deem wherever they felt like the ball was going to be spotted. So the first half will feel like a game, I guess, minus the tackling, and the second half will be a football game other than the special teams aspects.
Have you seen enough of the wide receivers this spring to be confident in what they can do, or have there just been too many injuries to tell what you have there?
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I've seen this. I've seen tremendous work ethic. I've seen kids working like crazy to get better. I've seen a senior in Kinzel that takes every rep and doesn't bat an eye. So those are all real positive things. But we need to get healthy with the young men in the program, get ourselves at full strength there, and then we've got to rely on ourselves as coaches and the young men that recruited. And a couple of those kids have got to come in and be factors. And if we can do that, we'll have a chance to be a very potent offense. If we can't do that, then it's going to be tough. And that is the bottom line, and that's where I see the offense right now.
Gary, on the teleconference, you talked about Devin Galton giving you a third corner.
Yeah.
When you guys got here, I assume you knew nothing about him. How long did it take you to learn something about what he could do once he got healthy?
Well, once he got healthy, it became very clear, just moving through the drills, that he was a very talented young man, and he's got what you look for. He's got good hips. He can change direction. He gets in and out of breaks very well for a corner. And then secondly, I would say just the way he handled the scheme, coming back from not being involved other than mentally, and you learned that he had prepared himself, that even when he was injured he was paying attention, and that's a credit to that young man for doing that. And he's continued to have some success. Like I said, it's a great story, but we need him.
Flip to the defensive side. What have you seen from guys like Alec James, Leon Jacobs, Chikwe Obasi?
Yeah. Well, again, youth that is very talented, athletic, coachable. I'm excited about the game. Chikwe has really made great strides. He's got himself into a spot right now that if we're going to play tomorrow and have a game, he'd be the starter on the defensive front. And still got a lot of work to do. He understands he's got a lot of work to do. But Alec and Leon, those kids have really grown into their spots. They've accepted change. Alec has been able to say, okay, I'm going to come in and play defensive end, and he was excited about that. And the same with Leon, went from outside backer to inside backer. The key for Leon, and the key as you look forward for Alec, is to understand that he is going to be in a position, both those kids will be in a position to play in sub packages and be a big part of that as we continue to move forward. And that all starts with the corners, and having 3 of those kids, it starts there, and then it can move to getting faster in those sub-down, third-down packages.
Is Caputo back at safety now? Do you have an idea who the second guy is going to be for him? I know Musa's been out, but you've got Peniel Jean out there.
Yeah, Musa and PJ will be back there. Austin's going to be in the mix, but I think what you're going to see as we go through time is Michael is a young man that we want to keep on the field. He's more of a down safety, and you'll see him be more down in the box by certain coverages and certain times. You'll see more of a post player, and whoever can develop into be a post player when we're playing our 3 deep and our zone dogs and our man-to-man coverage with the middle of the field player will end up being the starter at that point, and still up in the air.
Do you want to do a little more 3-3-5?
I don't think we're really a 3-3-5 unless it depends on who you're counting as the 5 after the 3-3. Okay. But we'll be we'll be a three down team a lot of times, but we want to get those packages in there where, there's 4 linebackers and potentially, 4 corners / safeties on the field, or even maybe in more depth to get to some 2 defensive ends on the field, and then the rest of the 9 guys are linebackers. Safeties are 2 sprinkled in there, and then some corners. So as we become more athletic and the kids get excited about the scheme and really understand it, we'll continue to grow. But we're a 3-down team based from an underfront, and that's what we were a year ago. That looks like it's the odd front all the time. It's probably about 50% odd, 50% even by the time the kids take their steps on their steps on the snap of the football.
Gary, on the teleconference, you talked about Joel getting him started on the rehab. Where does that stand now from here moving forward?
Yeah, well, Joel was, he's been evaluated, and the doctors are moving forward, and we're looking for him to get into the rehab today. He basically started, and it looks like it's just something we got to understand. And trust me, I don't have an understanding of a shoulder, let alone claim to be a doctor in any way, shape, or form. But I'm confident that he's going to be fine. I'm confident that he's going to be ready to go as early as June, when the kids return for their summer workouts. And it's just that 10 days that he's going to gain right now, and some may say it's just a week, but he's already been evaluated, where we would have been evaluating him next Monday or Tuesday, and why wait? So that's why I had a sense of urgency to get it started.
So it's just rehab, no surgery?
No, not right now. No, there's no comments or talk to me at all about anything with surgery. It's just an aggravation that, a normal other position groups, a linebacker, a D lineman, an O lineman play all day with that, but not when you've got to throw that ball with the accuracy and the way a quarterback has to play.
You mentioned these guys need to play football because they're young. Mm-hmm. Are you behind in that at all because of all the injuries? Do you have to make up for that at all in the fall, or are you okay with it?
No, I think we're okay because we've been really aggressive in the spring by doing that. And a lot of teams that are experienced and may not need to play as much football in spring, but there's a time when ultimately we need to turn them loose. And when I say that, really for the spring game, it's the fact that the coordinators are upstairs, the coaches are on the sidelines. When the whistle blows and the huddle breaks, the kids are out there 11 on 11 by themselves, and that's where there's not a coach telling you to move over 6 inches or find out where number 2 is or all the stuff that we coach kids to do. They've got to do it themselves, and a team has to find an identity. They got to find themselves, and being out there by themselves is what really matters.
You mentioned back on signing day that this is sort of out of left field, but you don't necessarily look at stars when you recruit kids. But I was wondering, when you do recruit, do you compile a top 100 list, or how do you go about finding the best of the best if you don't necessarily look at?
Well, what we do is, we have obviously relationships. There's scouting services that we rely on. There's coaches that we rely on. Each coach has their area, which you guys know, and they reach out to those areas and they gather all the information that they can, and then that process just starts. There's thousands of tapes that are watched on these kids as they go through the country, and it's an evaluation process from a recruiting coach to a coordinator. They all have comments on it. If it gets past there, it comes to me. I put my comments on it. If a young man gets to the red line, and our red line is basically if he gets to the red line or above, and we offered and he said yes, we would be very happy to have him. And there's no exact pecking order to it, but that's we don't look at it in any way, shape, or form. Who else is recruiting him or this scouting service? It doesn't matter to us. It's what we know about him. How does he fit Wisconsin? As you know, you hear it from all the other sports. It's not just football. It's a unique fit here. You've got to understand that socially you've got to be able to accept what Wisconsin is. Academically, you've got to be able to accept it. And then from a football standpoint or many of the other sports, you have to be prepared to play at the highest level.
Gary, I'm guessing you heard Melvin when he was asked the other day on a teleconference about individual goals, and he turned it to the team and said, playoffs and national championship. Did that?
I was in the room.
What was your reaction? I mean, did you know it was coming?
No, I didn't know that was coming. That it doesn't surprise me for Melvin, though. Melvin is one that expects to play at the highest level and be the best of the best. And I guess I would say this. I'm sure glad he said that, and then he followed it up by the comment of simply saying that, I'm not looking to go out and have to win the Heisman and things like that. That says a lot about what Melvin's about. But he is driven to be the best of the best, and that's what I think those comments bring out. And some may deem those as, wow, that's a wow statement a little bit. But to me, I deem that as Melvin speaking his expectations, and what's wrong with that at the end. people may look at that in different ways, but I don't. I look at it as a competitive kid who has greatness on his mind, and it's an exciting time for him in his life, and he has high expectations. So, we're not going to come out and say that as a team. We're not going to jump around and make T-shirts to say that on it, but that's his goals and his objectives.
You hold out any of the veteran guys who are healthy, like Happenstein or anything?
Rob will play a little bit in the beginning in those controlled scrimmage situations, and if he plays in what would be the third and fourth quarter, it will be very, very, very limited. Really, the rest of the kids, other than those three with the two running backs and him, are going to go, and will be a heavy thud on the quarterback. We're not going to tackle him, but we are going to, a tag on the shoulder is not going to get him down. We've got to be around him and secure him in a position to where they would get tackled.
Along the lines, on the O-line, obviously you've held those three guys out for the most part.
Yeah.
Where does that development of the depth stand now compared to what it was at the beginning of the spring?
With the offensive line?
Yes,
well,
yeah.
Michael Dieter really helped us. He would sit back and say, now you've got a third center that has however many snaps he's had in spring, hundreds and hundreds. And again, he's played a lot of football, so that's a nice place to start. And you look, and you'd think he would be in that mix, but now when we get back, he can go play guard. So now he can learn some guard, and even if he's the fourth guard or whatever he may be, the fifth guard and the third center, he probably gets on the airplane and away he goes. And we see how the season rolls. But you look at the other kids that have been in there, and Ray Ball's been running with the ones, and Ray is going to be, he wants to start, but Dallas wants to start too, and so does Dan. So the reps that he got with the first team is great for him, and so we're in a much better spot than we were at the start of spring with the depth of the offensive line, just because of the repetition that they've had.
What's Chikwe done to earn that starting spot right now?
Chikwe's development is high school kids a lot of time at defensive line, when they're so dominant and they're so strong, that they have a tendency to really play high, and because they can get away with it. But he's developed pad level, he's developed the ability to play with his hands, he controls his feet very well, and now his mind is cleared, the waters have calmed, so his ability to go out and react to what's coming his way after spring break just kind of really developed and gave him an opportunity to get in position to make plays. And then he was the toughest guy last year on the scout team, day in and day out, as far as just coming out and getting a knock around, and as light as he was then, he just kept on fighting and battling, and so he has a toughness that we learned he had a year ago, and that's just continued to grow.
Your expectations for Gillens, not so much Saturday, but moving forward, if he's even in the mix for anything next year?
Yeah, I think DJ, I want him to prepare for this game, just like I told the team after. This is the first time you're going to be in a position to play in a game, and this is really as close as we can get you to a game until you jog out of the tunnel against LSU and you scrimmage in the fall, and we have the fan day and all that, but this is as close as we can get you to a real game, and it's your first time doing it, so prepare the right way. And I would expect him to prepare the summer the exact same way to come in and be the starter. That will be his mindset, and he'll compete down those lines, and I would ask that of every kid on the team. But DJ's excited about his progress, I believe. He knows he's got a lot to work on and a long way to go to be a starter at this level, but he also will be excited about